Good morning, my name is Bill Arvidson. Four of us, Chris, Lamont, Bob, and myself, arrived in Guatemala 3 days early to travel to Guatemala to talk with people about accompaniment and to meet some of the students who are receiving scholarships from this congregation. In the remote Mayan village of Chichupac, we met with 5 community members. Chichupac suffered horrific violence during the 36-year war. They call it internal armed conflict. Since the peace accords in 1996, many have given and continue to give testimony risking intimidation and violence from prominent men in Guatemalan society and in government. These survivors told us that the simple presence of international accompaniers mitigates threats of intimidation and violence. We met members of the Association for Justice and Reconciliation who have been taking legal action against those responsible for the killing and disappearance of 240,000 Guatemalans. These Mayan survivors explain that the presence of international accompaniers shields them from intimidation by those threatened. A poignant testimony was given by Julia, who told us that she witnessed the killing of her family members as a teenager and was emotionally crippled for many years. Later, Julia developed a trusting relationship with an international accompanier who helped her overcome her grief and encouraged her to become active in her community. With new confidence, Julia decided that her mission was to seek justice for herself and other survivors. We interviewed 2 delightful 18-year-old Mayan students, Angelina Vargas Manuel and Alvaro Giovanni Chen, who UUC is sponsoring. So, by sponsoring accompaniers, by aiding many young minds with scholarships, we are supporting human rights in Guatemala.
Ubaldo Ramirez returned to consciousness at 5 a.m., cold and surrounded by wolves. His body gave out after 8 days on the desert, 5 of them with no food and dirty water. He had spent 40,000 quetzales, that's $5,000 US, to get this far, to be treated like an animal by 3 coyotes on his journey from his hometown of Capola, Guatemala, to a desert bush 5 miles south of Phoenix and left to his fate. He walked 6 hours without food or water to a road. A citizen found him and called immigration. Immigration showed up in 15 minutes and gave him food and water, and he assumed he would be treated well, but that was not to be. To quote Ubaldo, there were 100 of us to a cell, not enough space to lie down. We were standing up. They put shackles on our hands and feet and switched us to another jail with hardened criminals. They gave us a small amount of food and no blankets, and the criminals we shared our cell with, they were very bad. Ubaldo was back in Guatemala in 11 days. Why did he do this? Why did he put himself through this? What were his dreams and hopes? He needed to support his family, and he hoped to have a small business in Guatemala. Happily, he is now doing that. He is learning how to run a business from a grassroots help organization called Despoa. Thank you.
Good morning. From the very beginning of the planning for this trip, one of our destinations was the community of Concepcion, Chiquirichapa, which is located in the highlands of Guatemala. Comce, as it is known for short, is the hometown of many who live here in our area as neighbors and friends. And what a privilege it was to be able to meet their friends and families in Guatemala. In Comce, we visited with people who are developing a cultural center to promote traditional Mayan values and arts. The all dancers who are here with us today are all from Concepcion, and they are working at this end to support that center as well. In another place, we were hosted by Carlos Hernandez, who served as our guide and interpreter at the Mayan Middle School in Talanam and at the Red Cross Clinic, built by donations from immigrants living in our area. Carlos returned voluntarily to Guatemala a while ago, and he now teaches English in the school and drives the clinic's ambulance. Carlos was kind enough to accompany us to the Mayan village of Tochan, and he served as our bridge to the community. We spent time there with the family of Victor Lopez, who I see in the back here, who left Tochan when he was 14. Victor has not seen his family since 1999, and it was not lost on us that we as U.S. citizens were free to visit them, to exchange hugs, share pictures, while he must rely on periodic cell phone calls to stay connected. I think it was more than pure chance that he called at the precise moment that we were all standing in his yard. Before this trip, I'm not sure I could have defined the term radical hospitality, but we certainly experienced it in Guatemala. People went out of their way to welcome us warmly, make us feel comfortable, and accompany us in unfamiliar surroundings. May we take their wonderful example to heart.
Speaking of radical hospitality, the village of Tochan, up in the mountains about 10,000 feet, exceeded any expectations we might have had. Our bus stopped on a steep incline, and we decided to walk up the last hill, past fields of corn and potatoes and squash. Soon to come face to face with beautiful children running towards us, welcoming us with smiles and giggles. We walked up to the school, built largely with the help of remittances from family members in the U.S., and met the adults, the women dressed in traditional Mayan dress, colorful, welcoming us with the customary touching of arms to elbows. The men gathered along the outer wall, stoic in blue jeans and boots, cautiously welcoming us with a handshake. Some women were making tamales and chochitos, the aroma drifting over the outdoor basketball court where we gathered. Some of us played patty cake with giggling girls. The community meeting gave us an opportunity to hear firsthand the interests and concerns of the people, from those whose crops are hard hit by the tropical storms and the heavy rains, from those who have lived and worked in the U.S. but have returned to Tochan to rejoin their families, and from those who understand their strength as a community yet their vulnerability in a world that too often values dollars and trade over social justice. We enjoyed our freshly prepared dinner in the two-room school, and then to my total surprise, I was summoned back outside at the sight of 50 or so children gathered around a birthday cake. You see, it was my birthday. And this turned out to be my biggest birthday party ever. A woman carefully carved thin slices of the cake so all the children could enjoy a taste. Then later we retired to the larger of the two classrooms to sleep. Wooden boards on concrete blocks over the cold cement floor. Women on one side, men on the other side. To sleep, despite barking dogs or crowing roosters and maybe some snoring from the other side. To sleep, for a chance to dream of giggling children who deserve a future where genocide no longer exists and where economic survival does not depend on loved ones having to risk life, live, and family destruction by seeking work in the North.
My name is Hoekstra. Our large enough to hold 15 of us and our luggage. And the driver was named Jose Angel, or Angel. And we came to appreciate his skill, but his life also illustrates some of the conditions in Guatemala. The intercity highways in western Guatemala are sometimes carved out of steep mountainsides, and Hurricane Agatha and other heavy rains have still created damage that is still to be removed. On the inside, you have rock falls and avalanches covering the inner lanes. The outside lanes are undermined, and Jose kept dodging back and forth between the two sides. Also, there are, in places where I think there ought to be guardrails, there aren't any, and about 4 feet beyond the edge of the road is the edge of everything. Sometimes we gave Jose about a round of applause after he took about 2 minutes to get around the intersection of two narrow roads in the cities or the towns. In addition, he felt it was his duty to sleep on the bus and safeguard the bus and whatever we had to leave on it. Sometimes the weather was down in the 40s. The climate of violence in Guatemala has affected bus drivers, and Jose in particular. He related that there is one of the accepted ways of bus companies competing is to kill the drivers of their bus companies. And also there's a protection wagon, and the bus drivers are a threat. Jose said that he knew of 13 bus drivers who had been murdered. Crime struck him particularly hard when his daughter was walking down the street and was stabbed by a woman who wanted her cell phone. The knife penetrated her kidney, and Jose had to spend his entire savings to pay for saving her life. Jose said that sometimes your life changes in just a second, and that's certainly the condition for many people who live in a country where there's violence with impunity.
Hi, my name is Fred Zimmerman. On Friday morning, we left a city called Quetzaltenango at 5 in the morning because we had a meeting at the U.S. Embassy back in Guatemala City at 11. Unfortunately, we had a flat tire on the trip, and then we had to get through security at the embassy, which is very, very onerous. Finally, we got in the room with the embassy officials about noon. There were 3 officials there from the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE. They said they could only stay for 15 minutes. So we switched our order of presentation, and Chris Sutton related the story of Ubaldo, which MJ just told you about. This was the immigrant who struggled several days in the desert, only to be picked up by ICE and was incarcerated in some very difficult conditions. When Chris was relating the story, an ICE official jumped in and immediately said this was not true. But after some discussion, another ICE official said that maybe the story was exaggerated, but maybe it was not a lie. So we asked our next question. Oh, I forgot. And then the first ICE official asked us if we would like to tour an ICE detention facility. And many members of the group said we would like to do so. So that is still in the future, hopefully. So someone asked another question, and an embassy official gave a very long and totally irrelevant answer. But luckily, we had Yacomina as our moderator, who was able to sort of get this official back on track and get our presentation back on track. After that, our meeting with the embassy officials seemed to go much better. And we actually got a compliment from one of them that we were much better prepared than many other groups who